Hey there! In this video, we'll learn about loops, looping statements, why are they important, different types of loops, and we'll try to make our work easy in Python. Coming to the first loops, it would be while loop. What would be the syntax of a while loop? It would be while, and then you have your condition. Then it would be ended by colon. And then we'll have 8 spaces here. If you press colon and enter, it would automatically give you 8 spaces. Now, why is that? Python always keeps an eye upon the spaces. It's also called indentation rule. That means if a code is written after an 8 spaces, that means it is inside the line before it. So, for example, this set of code is inside while. So, that's the importance of indentation. So, make sure you remember to indentate properly. So, that would be the syntax of while. Let's say the real use example of while loop. We have a code snippet around here. Let's try to trace it. So the code starts from here. We have declared a variable count is equal to 5. So 5 is stored in count. Now, while count is greater than 0. So while this condition is true, it will do whatever is present inside it. So what it's going to do, print count, and then we have the increment or decrement here. This line is important for while loops as it can't increment or decrement by itself. Now, what do you mean by increment or decrement? Let's try to trace it. And I think so you'll be able to understand well when we are tracing it. So let's see. For now, our count value is 5. So while count is greater than 0, the statement is true. What will it do? It will print 5. Why 5? Because count is storing 5. So the output is printed here. Next, what it would do, count minus equals 1. So we learned this in the operators class, what this line would do. So this would subtract minus from count. So what is the new value of count? Now count stores 4 and count is still greater than 0. So that's true. Then it will be in print count. So 4 got printed. Then again, count minus equals to 1. So it will subtract 1 from count 3. So then 3 will get printed, then 2 will get printed, then 1 will get printed. So when 1 get printed, count will have 1. So 1 minus equals 1 would give you 0. So while it comes back to the loop, while count is greater than 0. So count is 0. So is 0 greater than 0? False. So this would be false. So then it would exit the loop. So for in this case, this would be our output. As long as the condition is true, it will do whatever is present inside the code. Let's be careful of the common pitfalls. Let's not try to create an infinite loop. So, forgetting to update the condition inside the loop, make sure to the conditions eventually becomes false, or else they'll be running infinitely and keep using your computer's resources. Also, ensure that the condition is properly defined and eventually evaluates to false. You'll have to avoid this common pitfalls, or else it would be an example of bad looping. The other loop statement that we have here is called for loop. Now, we use for loop for a lot of reasons. Let's try to divide or break the components of for loop into 3 different sections. First would be your item. Your item would be the variable that represents the sequence. You can choose any valid variable name. There's no issues with that. Next, we have the sequence. Sequence would be collection of elements from where you are taking the element. Then would be your code block, where you are executing are the set of instructions. If the condition is true, it's going to execute it in the present sequence. Let's try with an example. You'll understand better with an example. So we are declaring a list here. How is a list declared? It's declared between two box brackets. So our fruits holds the element apple, banana, orange. So for a variable or item for fruit in fruits, print fruit. So what is the first fruit it's gonna print? The first fruit it sees is apple. So it prints apple. The next fruit it sees is banana. Then it prints banana. The next fruit it sees is orange. Then it prints orange. So for first fruit would be stored as apple. It will print apple. Next element would be stored as banana. It would print banana. Next element in fruit, it will be stored as orange. It will print orange. The for loop is also a very versatile tool that can be used in various scenarios. It allows us to automate the repetitive task. Now let's start exploring the for loop using the range function. This is a very interesting function. It would help us a lot. If I try to explain the syntax, we can divide it into three functions. First would be a start. So if you don't specify the start, the default start would be 0. Then would be a stop value which it should stop at. And remember, the stop value wouldn't be included. Then would be a step. We'll learn this through an example. So we have an example here. You can understand range as start, stop, step. If you have just mentioned range 5, that means your range is from 0 to 5. And what is it doing? For num in range 5, which means 0 to 5, print num. So it would start from 0. So 0 got printed. Then it will self increment. It's not like while loop that we have to enter an increment statement. For loop is special that way. It gets self incremented. After printing 0, the num will self increment to 1. Then, as it is in range 0 to 5, 1 will get printed, 2 will get printed, 3 will get printed, 4 will get printed. And when num is equal to 5, your this is the last value, means stopping value. It won't print 5 and it will stop at that. Let's look at another example too. We have another example using the range function. So in this case, our start value is 2 and our end value is 6. And what are we doing? We're printing it. So for num in range 2 comma 6, our num will take the first value of the start, which is 2, and it will self increment to 6. And what would it do? It would print. So 2 will get printed, 3 will get printed, 4 will get printed, 5 will get printed. When num is incremented to 6, as it is a stopping value, this won't be printed. Let's start. Let's see another example using the step. So in this case, our range is 1 to 10. And in what step do we move? We move in 2 steps. So our number collection would be from 1 to 10, and we're moving in 2 steps. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is from 1 to 10. So our num value first will have 1. So 1, so it's in the loop. So it will enter the loop and will print num. So 1 will get printed. Now we have step 2. So our num will take 2 steps. So first it will jump to 2. Second, it will jump to 3. So the num will store 3. It wouldn't store 2 because we have the 2 step present in range. As num is storing 3 and it's present from 1 to 10, it will print num and 3 will get printed. Same case. 2 step, 5 will get printed. 2 step, 7 will get printed. And this would go on till it reaches the last value. So now as it has reached 9, next value would be 11. So 11 is not present in the range. Then this would get exited out of the loop. In this video, you have learned how to use while loop as well as how to use for loop. We'll use while loop and for loop in our further examples too. Currently, you are just learning language. We'll surely learn how to make sentences from them too. The notes for this class are present in the description. You can download them. That's it for today. Make sure to revise properly. I'll see you soon. This is Harsh from AirEdify. Bye bye.